It's evening. A text comes into your husband's phone from a number you don't recognize. You watch him scroll, tap back a reply. Your chest tightens before you can say why. What we're about to walk you through is a practical conversation about polyvagal techniques for betrayal trauma. So specifically, what your body is doing when a trigger hits, and 3 nervous system resets that you can use to come back.
And this is for the partner who has already done so much work on this. You've told the story to your closest friend, your therapist, maybe your sister, and so on. You know what triggers are, and you've named the dynamics, and still, like, something like that text message arrives and you're just not you anymore. Either you collapse for a day or two maybe and just can't even get out of bed or something along those lines, or you and your husband or boyfriend or fiance end up fighting through the night, just in a cycle that neither of you knows how to stop. And that is who this video is for.
And the most important thing we can say before we get to any technique is this: like, your body is keeping the score. It is not failing you. It's doing what a nervous system that has been through what yours has been through knows how to do. It's remembering. And that remembering is asking for a different kind of care than you might have been giving it. So your body's not malfunctioning. It's remembering. And the first thing I want to address here is shame. Because I talk to partners who, before they tell me anything else about what happened at midnight or what they said or how things escalated, tell me how ashamed they are of how they behaved. They didn't recognize themselves. They're afraid that this is who they become, even though it's not who they are. So here's what I want you to hear. A trigger is not a thought. A trigger is like a physiological state shift. By the time your thinking brain has words for what is happening, your nervous system has already moved. And that's by design. Your body's built to react to threat faster than the mind can explain it. Because historically, speed was what kept you alive.
So what that means, if I'm tracking you here, Verlynda, is that the raging version of someone, or the collapsed version of someone, is not a character problem. Like, it's not.
Yeah.
It's a nervous system doing what it was designed to do in the presence of a significant threat signal, or the echo of a threat signal even.
Exactly. And then the size of the reaction is not a measure of who you are. It's a measure of how much this relationship means to you, how deeply its safety was compromised.
Right.
Too, right? Of course you fought that hard. Like, you were fighting for the most important attachment bond in your adult life. Of course you collapsed. Your body was protecting you from a flood of signal it had no way to discharge in the moment. Of course you're still hypervigilant. Your nervous system is gathering data on whether this person whose signals your body once read as safe is safe again.
And some of the partners that I hear from in session quite often will say, like, the shame about what they did when they were in that mode is worse almost than the actual reaction itself. Because the reaction is a body doing its job, but the shame is someone looking at their own reaction and thinking, this must mean something is wrong with me. Like, I do not like myself when this happens.
And the shame is pointing to the wrong culprit. Like, the problem is not your character. The problem is that your nervous system is carrying something it has not had the right kind of help to process.
Indeed. So, awesome. Let's jump into, like, the 3 nervous system states that polyvagal theory talks about, just to help us understand this a little bit more. So if this is a body doing its job, it helps to understand what those jobs actually are, because most people who have been going through betrayal are cycling through 3 different states, maybe sometimes even in a single evening, and don't really have language or labels for any of those states.
And so this is where the polyvagal theory really earns its keep. So it was developed by Dr. Stephen Porges. And what he laid out is that your automatic nervous system moves between 3 primary states. You do not choose which one you're in. Your nervous system is constantly assessing cues of safety and threat, even below your awareness, and it shifts you into whichever state it thinks you need. So for a partner who has been betrayed, all 3 of these states will be familiar. Most people cycle through all of them, sometimes within a single evening, as you said. So the first one is the ventral vagal. That's the state your body rests in when it feels safe. Your breathing is even, your face is relaxed, you can make eye contact, you can listen and hear, you can be genuinely curious about another person. So before the betrayal, this was probably the state you were in most of the time with your partner. I mean, you may have known at some level something was wrong, but for the most part, you would have been in this ventral vagal state. His voice regulated you. His touch calmed you. And this is what makes betrayal such a particular kind of wound. Because the relationship that used to be your regulation is the same relationship that broke your sense of safety. Which is really hard.
Yeah. That's a huge loss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the second state we want to talk about is sympathetic. That's your sympathetic nervous system. You've probably heard that before. That's fight or flight or freeze. Your heart rate climbs. You're restless. You're agitated. You can't sit still. There's a pressure to do something immediately to resolve the threat. And after betrayal, this is the state behind like the 2 a.m. interrogation. It's the phone checking. It's the fight that will not land. The demand for one more round of disclosure. It's the inability to sleep in the room with him until the conversation reaches some kind of resolution that never quite comes. So that's the sympathetic nervous system. And then the third is the dorsal vagal, which is the shutdown. And this is what the body does when fight or flight's been tried. It has not resolved the threat. And when the threat is so close to you that fighting or fleeing feels impossible, you go numb. Tears stop, words stop. You feel heavy or foggy or far away from your own body. And after betrayal, this is the collapse into bed for a day or 3. It's the conversation where you know you should be crying or furious and you're just absent. So it's the dissociation during physical intimacy. All these things.
Show up in different ways.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So to name this plainly for someone who's maybe new to these terms, ventral vagal is calm and connected. So that was the first one that you talked about. Sympathetic is activated. And then dorsal vagal is shut down. And you can actually move between all three. You don't have to. You might only be in one or two of them within a single fight, but you can certainly move around as well.
Yeah. And so that might be within a single evening. Like,
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So fight, then shut down, then a brief moment of connection when things feel okay again, and then right back into activation as soon as a new cue fires. And I want to say again, like, this is not a sign that you are unstable.
Yeah.
It is a sign that your nervous system is searching for a protective response that works in a situation where fighting or fleeing or freezing all fail to resolve the core problem. So the threat is inside the attachment you're trying to preserve.
Yeah.
Which I think is key.
Yeah. It tells you why it's so hard to find a landing spot for this.
Yeah. Because I so badly want to be attached to you, and yet you don't feel safe. You're dangerous.
Because of what's happened. Yeah.
Yeah. Not you.
Yeah. No. Good. So let's talk about why talking about this doesn't just words won't calm this down. So
yeah.
If the body's doing all this, you might be wondering, like, why doesn't talking about it fix it? And by that, I mean you talking to another person, not us talking about. I mean, us talking about it doesn't fix it either. But
yeah,
because most partners, that's what they try to do first, is to talk through this, to talk themselves through the betrayal. To if I talk about this enough, I can relax. I can get this out of my system. I can process it, kind of. And the therapist, the sister, the close friend, the support group, the pastor, everyone who loves them might encourage you to keep doing the same thing, which is to talk about it. Just talk through this. You'll find your way through it too.
Yeah. And I mean, you should. You should talk about it. I'm not telling anyone to stop talking to their therapist or their sister or support group or pastor, whatever. You need that circle more, that like support circle, more than ever right now. Especially when your partner's ability to help you regulate has been compromised. Like, bring them in, accept the meals, rely on them. And at the same time, talking about the betrayal is not going to calm your nervous system on its own. So modern trauma research has been clear on this over the last 20 years. Trauma is not resolved through talk alone. Healing has to move in 2 directions. So there's top-down work, which is like insight and narrative, naming the dynamics. It's real and necessary. And bottom-up work, which is like breath or vagal tone or somatic regulation or nervous system retraining, is equally necessary. Like, you need both. One without the other stalls.
Yep.
but this is just kind of gives you the whole package.
Yeah.
So this is why telling your sister the whole story for the 5th time, while it is giving you emotional validation that you truly need, it's not producing a regulated nervous system. It's why trying to reconstruct every detail of the timeline, as sincere as that effort is not getting your body back. So those are all cognitive strategies. They sit at the top of the system. They don't reach the level of the body where the traumatic memory is actually held.
Exactly, yeah. And this is the piece that kind of can surprise betrayed partners the most, because you would think that if you understood it well enough and if you talked about it long enough and you processed it through with enough people, eventually your body would catch up. And instead, we can see partners 18 months, 24 months, 36 months out, sometimes even longer, sitting across from us saying, I have done everything. Like, why is this still happening?
Yeah, because your body's asking for something additional. It's asking for work that happens at the level of breath or vagal tone or sensory grounding or co-regulation through actual physical presence with another safe nervous system. So I'm just going to get clinical for a minute here. On some research that really matters. So there's a study out of Stanford University from 2023 published in Cell Reports Medicine. These names are going to be tough, but Melise Yilman-Balbin and her team, they compared 5 minutes a day of specific breathing practice called cyclic sighing. Oh, that just makes me want to sigh. Anyways, to 5 minutes a day of mindfulness meditation. And the breathing practice produced more improvement in mood and more reduction in physiological arousal than meditation did. And that's a striking finding because mindfulness has long been one of the most common tools people reach for when they're activated. And what the research is telling us is that certain kinds of breath reach places that even mindfulness does not.
And we're big proponents of that too. Like the awareness of what's going on
in our bodies.
Yeah.
And so that specific breathing practice is the first of 3 resets that we want to walk you through right now.
Awesome. So walk us through them, Verlynda.
Okay. So these are tools for the acute moment, right? When everything in your body is just very activated and you don't feel like yourself. So the next time a trigger fires, you feel your body climbing toward activation or even dropping towards shutdown, you have something to do. So each one works by interacting directly with the vagus nerve. So that's the main parasympathetic pathway in your nervous system in a way that your thinking brain just doesn't do.
Not on its own.
Yeah. So the first one is the breathing practice from the Stanford study. It's the physiological sigh. You may have heard it called cyclic sighing, or from Dr. Huberman's popularization of the research, the physiological sigh. But the pattern is simple. Inhale through your nose. And then before you exhale, take a second shorter inhale on top of the first, still through your nose. Then exhale slowly through your mouth, longer than both inhales combined. So the exhale should feel like the sigh you would exhale at the end of a hard day. So that's 3 to 5 rounds. Do you want to do this?
Sure.
Okay, so big breath in. Hold it. Another little breath. And then longer than your inhales. Yeah. So I think this is meaning I was blowing out kind of, but it's more like a sigh, like. And just let it all out.
Nice.
I'm feeling very relaxed.
We're going to fall asleep on our video. Yeah. So just elaborate on the mechanism of this, even if we have to get a little nerdy here for a second, just so partners who are listening can really understand why and how this works.
Okay. So the double inhale fully inflates all the alveoli in your lungs, which lets the long exhale offload carbon dioxide more efficiently. And then that shift in your blood chemistry combined with the extended exhale activates that parasympathetic branch of your nervous system within about a minute, sometimes faster. It is a fast, practical tool for interrupting acute sympathetic activation in real time. And so you can use it at the first sign that your heart rate is climbing. before you send the text, before you start the conversation, before you leave the room, 3 rounds. And then you can reassess. Like, what is my body doing?
Yeah. What I love about the breath is that you don't have to think about your breath. Like, it just happens automatically.
Yes.
And then when you get triggered or you get in these situations, like this nervous system thing just takes off on you, which is also automatic. But one of the things I love about the body's design is that the intentional focus on using the breath in certain ways can push back on the nervous system.
Yeah.
And all those automatic things to kind of override it into where my sort of wiser, calmer self knows that I need to get to.
Yeah.
So it's a way to push back on all that stuff.
Yeah. Like the rate of breathing actually controls your heart rate or impacts your heart rate.
Yeah.
So if I can slow it down and exhale longer than I'm inhaling,
Yeah.
my heart rate will slow down.
Yeah. So cool.
And then I don't feel like I'm panicking or,
Yep.
yeah.
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 Love it. Next one.
So the second reset is cold water to the face. And I mean, you see this, you hear about it, like splashing cold water in your face. But when a trigger's already escalated past the point where breath alone is going to catch it, this one moves a little bit faster. So fill your bathroom sink with water, as cold as you can stand, and submerge your face for 15 to 30 seconds.
I just want to say something, like, as a person who lives in Canada
Yeah.
and then it travels to warm locations where we can,
Oh.
the temperature difference on the water is pretty remarkable. Like, I think it would actually hurt to stick your head in a sink here because the water coming out of the ground feels so much colder.
Well, yeah. Like in warm countries, you can't get cold water, in my
It's
opinion.
hard to, yeah.
It's hard, right? Whereas,
But it's gotta
this
be
is the
enough
reset.
to-
It's, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I'm shocking my body back into the right here, right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So our southern friends, you might need some ice cubes in there. I don't know.
Ice bath.
Yes.
But yeah, but I mean, if you can't run a sink, a cold, wet washcloth just held across your eyes and cheekbones, that works too.
Yeah.
Just that physical reset.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's happening physiologically is called the mammalian dive reflex. So cold water on the area around your eyes activates a rapid parasympathetic response. For a lot of people, heart rate slows. The sympathetic spike starts to come down pretty quickly. It's like a built-in body response. And for many people, it helps quickly when they're flooded.
Yeah. Really cool, because I have a little bit of interest in like free diving, and I hear them talking a bit about how this kicks in and how calm you can feel underwater when you
And how
get
slow
used
the
to
heart
being
rate
in it.
is.
Yeah, and everything slows down for the really good free divers. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So when do you recommend like someone tries that or maybe moves to that instead of using the breath technique?
Yeah. I'd say when you've hit flooding.
Okay.
So when a fight is escalating beyond conversation or beyond useful conversation, when you're pacing in the kitchen at midnight, you can't make yourself stop.
Kind of when you're really overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take 20 seconds, come back.
Yeah.
So the breath is kind of like when things are just starting. And then the face, I can't even remember what I called it, but like the face
The mammalian.
submerged, the cold water.
Yeah.
That's more for like when I'm already up here.
Okay.
Because sometimes triggers hit so fast, like it's not like, oh, my heart rate's speeding up. Oh, I'm getting hotter
Yeah.
or whatever. It's just like, wham, I don't even know who I am. Like,
You're
who is this person
totally
raging?
flooded. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's a good time to stop.
Fair.
So on to the third reset. So it's different from the first two because it's not a technique you do by yourself, but it's co-regulation. I think this is a beautiful thing. Yeah. And the strongest regulator available to a human being is not a breathing exercise. It's another safe nervous system. And Caleb, you've known about co-regulation for years. Like, how do you help betraying partners understand this?
Well, this one's tougher. So what I say to the betrayer who caused the wound is this, like your betrayed partner's nervous system used to regulate around yours.
Yeah.
And that was great if that was happening. Especially during the early phases of the acute phases of recovery, it can no longer do that. Mm-hmm. I just can't get there usually. Someone else's is going to have to during that time until you rebuild enough safety for yours to do that work again. And that's a hard thing for a betrayer to hear because somebody else is comforting your partner.
Yeah, you
But
want to
it
be
is-
that person.
You want to be that person, but it's also kind of the reality of where things are at right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So in the acute moment, find a person whose voice, whose face, whose pace feels safe to your body. Hear their voice. Let yourself look at their face. Match your breathing to theirs, like slowing down gradually rather than like trying to leap to calm. Your nervous system is listening for another nervous system to sync with.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. I have a couple memories of watching other therapists do this, which is kind of easier to reflect on in some ways. One is like the psychologist. I think she is super well known for talking about healing from childhood sexual abuse, Diane Langberg.
Mm-hmm.
And even on Zoom video calls, which is usually where we would operate, she would say things like, come towards the sound of my voice, which is just like beginning to orientate yourself towards someone else. And she's saying that super calm, like she's not panicking and or stressed or whatever, but in a very grounded way, she's inviting that person who's kind of maybe has gotten, it's like fully activated in their nervous system because they're revisiting some old trauma. So that was one thing. And then another thing that I saw during a demo, which I thought was pretty powerful, because you have to be careful about physical touch during therapy, but is, and you can't see this off camera, but a therapist extending their feet to just rest their shoes on top of the client's shoes. So you could feel the touch coming through as also a grounding thing, beginning to like step towards co-regulation.
Okay.
Now those are therapy contexts, which are different, and there's like professional limitations and that kind of stuff. Like if you have like a sibling or a parent or a close friend, obviously like hugs and even things like that can be.
Well, we use hugs. Like sometimes when we're so stressed,
Yeah.
it's like you get a hug and it's like, okay, can you feel me? And you kind of stop and match the other person.
Yeah.
And it is regulating.
It does that too.
Yeah.
So, but this kind of relates to the next question around this, Verlynda, which is like, okay, if the spouse is not available because they betrayed, like who is like the next best, or who might be a person that could help someone?
Yeah. So, I mean, you just
Co-regulate.
listed, right? Like a sibling or family member, a safe friend, all these things. I mean, a therapist to a certain extent, another support group member, perhaps. So the complication most partners run into is that most triggers fire, at 11 p.m. or 3 a.m. And there's no safe person available in the house at that moment. And your partner is the source of the activation, or he's asleep, your kids are asleep, the sister or therapist or the pastor are not answering the phone. Like, what do you do? So your nervous system will still respond to these substitutes. Maybe it's a recorded voice memo from a safe person played on repeat. Sometimes our clients reach for that first in the middle of the night. If you're a person of faith, a breath prayer repeated quietly as you breathe. Be still and know, slow inhale, that you are God, slower exhale. Pick a line of scripture or another phrase that settles you and breathe it in for a minute or two. The slow vocalization itself engages the vagal tone. The meaning engages something deeper. Yeah. Physical contact with a pet can help settle your nervous system. For a lot of people, that shift is measurable. And warm weight, a heavy blanket, or a hand on your chest and another on your belly, a warm bath. All these things activate your interoceptive signals of safety that do not require another person in the room. So it's almost like you're getting it from another person, but not, you don't require that person. Substitutes, when you can't physically be with somebody.
Awesome. So those three resets are the acute phase tool, which are super handy to have. And if you're willing, try one or more. Let us know how it goes in the comments. Now, I think what partners often ask after they've been practicing them is like, what is the deeper work here? Like at some point, is there anything beyond just doing resets? They're great, but what else can like more permanently begin to erode the structures that have built around this activation and triggering and all that?
Yeah. And I think that's what gets missed a lot in acute betrayal work. Because the deeper task over time with support is to teach your body to tell the difference between a trigger firing and a signal coming from a grounded place. So here's what I mean. When your body reacts from an activated state, sympathetic or dorsal, the information it is giving you is real, but it's distorted. So it's reporting a threat that may not be accurate to the current moment because your nervous system is reading right now through the lens of the original wound. So we've talked about it before about trauma not having a timeline, right? It takes you right back to the moment, so it feels like it's happening in that moment. And that reaction, that part of you that has been protecting you this whole time, needs compassion. It needs regulation. It does not need to be acted on as if it is current intelligence about your marriage. So that part of you that has been on high alert for 2 years, scanning the phone, reading his tone, tracking his schedule, like that didn't do anything wrong. It was protecting you. So give that part of you a hug. Like, yes, of course you were reacting that way. Acknowledge its value and how it's helped you, how it's protected you. And then when you're ready, ask it to step aside so you can respond from a grounded place. Because when your body signals you from a grounded state, from that ventral vagal connection, the information it is giving you is also real. And that information you can trust. Your instincts about your partner, about whether something is off, about whether trust is rebuilding or eroding, those are trustworthy when they're coming from a regulated nervous system. So that is your integrated self telling you what it knows.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good.
Does that make sense?
I think so. It's like,
That was a lot there.
yeah, I think the context for this is like your activated self can react to a trigger.
Yes.
And the thing about triggers is triggers can be real or they can be false flags. And by that, I mean like the experience of them is very real. But if you see like another betrayal evidence, you're going to get triggered, right? And that's, of course, 100%. But you can see something that is not evidence of current betrayal. It's evidence of the past betrayal. For example, you just see like an attractive person. And you're like, I wonder if that's what he would have been drawn to, right? And so, and maybe at this point, your partner, your husband has been faithful, like no acting out for 2 years, but you get triggered. That's a false flag. And so I think we're just kind of saying that in this case over here in particular, the grounded self, the core wise self knows I'm safe now. I'm just getting triggered. And these are ways that you can begin to work on so that you're not getting false flags when you're just out and about and can feel like you can function.
Right. So when
and
you
move
get
through the world without these overwhelming moments because of something that's happened 2 years ago and is no longer an active threat. Is that a good clarification?
I think so.
Yeah. I just wanted to have a little context around it.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they can feel the same in your body. And that's why we're saying here for this third one that we need to learn to differentiate between the two.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's 2 signals that the body sends, and part of recovery is really learning to tell those 2 things apart so that they're separate, they're distinct.
Yeah, for sure. That's the work, telling those 2 things apart. And that's not something you can do alone. It's not something breath alone can do. This is where betrayal trauma-informed therapy really comes in. The foundational work of Patrick and Stephanie Carnes through the International Institute for Trauma and Addiction Professionals, ITAP, we call it, has shaped how the field understands partner betrayal trauma. It really has. And those principles inform any clinically grounded approach to this kind of work. So what we actually use with partners in our practice is a combination of emotionally focused therapy. I generally work with couples, so I call it emotionally focused couples therapy, but including EFIT for individual work, or attachment-based couples work, or internal family systems, or EMDR, or brain spotting, or somatic modalities, depending on what your nervous system is asking for. And these modalities go beneath the trigger. They help the body finish the protective response it was never able to complete in the moment. They help you process what happened at a deeper level so the past is less likely to hijack the present. I say like it becomes a memory. We're not going to forget it, but it becomes a memory rather than a trigger.
Yeah.
And it restores your capacity to trust your own signals.
Yeah.
Your recovery is its own project on its own timeline. It does not wait for him to get his act together. Your nervous system needs what it needs, regardless of where he is in his work. So I don't think that's harsh. I think that's freeing.
Yeah, you can do this work separately from whether your partner is engaging in safety or not.
Yeah.
And I think that's important to name. We have so many people commenting on our YouTube videos, and there's a range of like, he's completely in denial, blaming and gaslighting her, him, all the way through to, yeah, they're I know my partner's safe, but I'm still having these huge reactions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So if someone is like a year or two out, Verlynda, and they're wondering like how long this recovery process might actually take, like what do you want them to know about that journey, the duration?
Yeah. Oh, I have people ask me this all the time, and it's like, it depends.
It does.
It
Yeah.
does.
I know it's a hard
It
question.
really does, right? But
Yeah.
many partners see meaningful improvement in acute reactivity over months, many months, when there is consistent safety or active recovery work or somatic support.
Can I pause there for a sec? I think
Yeah.
like one of the key parts of that is just saying consistent safety, because you can do a lot of healing work around triggers, but if the person you're with is continuing to act out or to traumatize you, you're always trying to catch up with what's being added on top of it. Is it still worth doing the work? It is. There may also need to be some discussion. Okay, how do we move you so you can be safer
Yeah.
in that? But it's still worth doing.
Yeah. I mean, that kind of balances out the last point we were talking about like it's not dependent on him.
Yeah.
And it's like, yes, your healing work isn't, but if you are still in the pain, if you're still being hurt, if it's still not actually safe, that's going to impact your healing work.
It is. And this is where boundaries become a more important discussion than next, right? But we're digressing a little bit. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. But like full restoration, you were talking about timing.
Yeah.
Full restoration, meaning the return of spontaneous regulation in your partner's presence, like it often takes 2 to 5 years.
That's not necessarily all therapy.
No.
But it just takes a while.
But it takes a while to, like, safety's not built overnight. It's not like, oh, okay, I can trust you again. You apologized.
Yeah.
It's like, no, trust is built with reliable behavior over time.
Yeah.
They need to prove it.
Yeah.
So this timeline depends on the severity of the betrayal, or the quality of your partner's recovery, or your access to trauma-informed care. And that's not a problem. Like, that's an invitation to take this work seriously and not rush yourself.
Indeed. Yeah.
Like, people just want to be over it. Like, okay, what's the next step? I get this. Okay, what's the plan? What's the plan? What's the next steps? And it's like, we want a trajectory like this, but it's more like a big bowl of spaghetti.
Yeah.
And everything we try and pull impacts everything
Something
else in the
else
bowl. And like, I would love to be like, oh, here we go. Here's a nice plan. But our bodies don't work that way.
It's not as simple as one would like.
Yeah. Yeah. So have compassion. Have compassion with yourself. And if something in this conversation has you sitting with a weight you can't quite name, or if you recognized yourself in the fight through the night, or in the collapse for 3 days, or in the moment when your heart raced and all you could see was red, just take a minute to notice that. Acknowledging these things is a big step at the beginning of this work. And if you want help with this work, many of our therapists at Therapevo do this specifically. The specific work of betrayal trauma recovery, nervous system regulation, what it actually takes to rebuild both the body and the marriage when that's what you want. Sessions happen via Zoom, so wherever you go, you can access this. The easiest first step is a free 20-minute conversation to see if the fit is right. And if you're watching on YouTube, the link will be in the pinned comment. And if you're listening to our podcast, head to our website, therapevo.com. I think what I most want you to take with you from this conversation is that if you're somewhere between 1 year and 3 years past his disclosure and your body's still doing this, you haven't failed at recovery. You haven't failed at forgiveness. You're not broken. Your nervous system is carrying something that cognitive work alone cannot reach. And it is asking you for the other half of the work. Breath, body, co-regulation, good trauma therapy. Try the double inhale and the long exhale. Try the cold water. Call the safe person. Pray the breath prayer. And when you're ready, get to the deeper work. You don't have to stay stuck forever.
And this is why we keep making these conversations, because 20 years ago, nervous system work for a betrayed partner was not really even being talked about. I don't even know that it existed as a specialty. And today, though, it doesn't have to be unobtainable. If something today resonated with you, there are therapists who know this work. There are books about this. There's podcasts. There's other therapists talking about this. Of course, it makes sense to reach out for help now so that you don't have to do this alone. And that's why our show is called Normalized Therapy, not therapy as a last resort, not as something only people in high levels of crisis, mental health crisis reach for, but just as what people who take their own healing seriously do when their own bodies are saying, hey, I need some real care. So thanks for being here.